the Israeli military stated it had completed another step in preparing for a possible war along its northern front, where it's been trading fire with Hezbollah. Tel Aviv and Hamas sent teams to Egypt for fresh talks on a potential ceasefire in the 6-month conflict. Earlier, the military said it launched strikes on East Lebanon and hit Hezbollah infrastructure sites after the Iranian-backed group downed a drone. Hezbollah said later it fired dozens of Katyusha rockets that hit an air defence base in the Golan Heights in retaliation for the Israeli raids. The Israeli attack reportedly targeted a Hezbollah training camp in Janta village near the border with Syria and the town of Safri near Baalbek. Israeli shelling has killed around 270 Hezbollah fighters and around 50 civilians and displaced some 90,000 people in South Lebanon. Around 60,000 Israelis have been uprooted from the country's northern border area. 18 people, civilians and soldiers, have been killed on the Israeli side of the border. The US and other countries have sought a diplomatic resolution to the worst fighting between Israel and Hezbollah since their 2006 war. Both Israel and Hamas confirmed they were sending delegations to Egypt. Benjamin Netanyahu said there would be no deal without a hostage release and that he would not cave in to international pressure. Hamas says an agreement must include the freedom of movement of residents across the Gaza Strip. Israel is under increased pressure from Washington. US President Joe Biden has demanded that it improve humanitarian conditions in Gaza and work toward a ceasefire, and said that US support could depend on that. It was the first time that Biden, a staunch supporter of Israel, has sought to use the US backing to influence Israeli military behaviour. Biden has also urged the leaders of Egypt and Qatar to pressure Hamas to agree to a ceasefire and hostage deal. Around 130 hostages are still being held in Gaza. Israel says an incursion into Rafah near the border with Egypt is needed to eliminate Hamas. Anxious foreign powers have said it could exact an unacceptable toll on civilians, with more than 1 million people sheltering there. Israel says it will evacuate civilians before launching an incursion. Palestinian residents of the South Gazan city of Khan Yunis said they had seen Israeli forces leaving the centre of the city and retreating to eastern districts.
Hamas ceased to function as a military organization throughout the Gaza Strip. The troops go out of Khan Yunis and prepare for their follow-up missions.
New video footage showed the destruction of Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis after Israel pulled out some of its troops. Israel's also on alert for a possible retaliatory strike from Iran in reaction to the killing of the Iranian generals on April the 1st. The Israeli Chief of General Staff, Herzi Halevi, says Israel knows how to deal with Iran offensively and defensively. He said, "We know how to act forcefully against Iran, both near and distant places. We're operating in cooperation with the USA and strategic partners in the region." Well, for more on this, our correspondent Jodie Cohen sent us this report from Ranana on what the Israeli pullout from Gaza is all about, and if there's another front opening up with Hezbollah.
Yes, so by my assessment, I think this could mean one of 4 things. Firstly, Israel could be doing this as a way to bring a hostage release deal closer. Remember, Hamas have been demanding that Israel withdraw its troops from Gaza, and this could be a gesture to try to secure a deal. Secondly, it comes after the Biden administration, with the Democrats facing pressure at home with the elections coming up. They asked Netanyahu not to carry out a ground operation in Rafah, but to do targeted raids against Hamas instead, like they do in the West Bank. So this could mean that a ground operation is off, at least for the time being. Thirdly, we've seen an increase in rocket fire from Hezbollah into northern Israel. So it could mean that the IDF is regrouping troops there in northern Israel. And fourthly, Iran has threatened Israel And that's after Iran accused Israel of killing General Zahedi, the head of the Iranian forces in Lebanon and Syria. Now, Israel is on high alert and prepared, they say, for a possible significant attack this week by Iran. So it could be related to that as well.
Well, Jodie further elaborated, and if there is any hopes left for a ceasefire, given that PM Netanyahu has said that Israel is one step away from victory.
Right, so Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that a permanent ceasefire would come when all of the hostages are returned, when Hamas is defeated and Israel's borders are secure. Now, we know that Hamas still has 4 battalions left in Rafah and 2 elsewhere in central Gaza. The IDF is expected to carry out raids to target Hamas there. Now, there's some cautious optimism, according to reports, about the latest hostage release talks in Cairo. We've heard that President Biden asked Qatar and Egypt to pressure Hamas to accepting the deal that's on offer. Remember, there are 133 hostages who are still remaining in Gaza. It's been 6 months now since Hamas kidnapped them as part of their 7th of October attack against Israel. Now, the current deal would reportedly involve releasing 40 of the hostages and a 6-week ceasefire, and would also enable more aid to be more easily distributed around Gaza. But there's pressure from the Israeli public, and it's not likely to ease up until all of the hostages are brought home.